Hi, Claremont. Brian Bain, candidate for seat 2 for your Claremont City Council in this November's election. I've had a lot of conversations and questions about Charter County. I shared an article recently on my Facebook page, and I've received several conversations and questions about what is a charter county and what does it mean. So I thought I'd just do a quick video to give a little bit more background and information about Charter County, since Lake County and the Board of County Commissioners is having this conversation right now. So a little background, there are only 20 counties out of 67 in the state of Florida that are a charter county. And there has not been a county that has moved to a charter county since 2008. So this is not something that counties are clamoring to do on a regular basis. It hasn't happened since 2008. And only 20 total counties. In Central Florida, we do have 6 counties, Brevard, Orange, Osceola, Polk, Seminole, and Volusia. The most recent being, I think Polk did it in 1998. So we've not had anything in Central Florida recently. Of the 20 counties, 13 of them have fewer municipalities than Lake County. Lake County has 14 municipalities, Claremont being the largest. And I think it's important to note that the majority, I think 65% of the counties that are a charter county have fewer municipalities than Lake County. What does that mean? And that leads into why I am apprehensive, why I am right now against moving to a charter county. I'll be transparent with that. Is that moving to a charter county, it's not necessarily the charter, it's what's in the charter and what that means for Claremont and what that means for home rule. There could be a situation where the charter county can override and have the final say as to what happens here in Claremont. And I don't know that Claremont should be deciding that for Astor or for Leesburg, and I certainly don't want Sorrento or Lady Lake deciding what we can do and should do here in Claremont. So charter versus non-charter. Well, non-charter, the majority of the counties are non-charter. It's basically spelled out in the state constitution and in state statutes what the county can do. If we move to a charter county, the electorate can decide kind of how we structure ourselves. And so the governance powers are prescribed by the state legislature if we're a non-charter. If we're a charter, we get to set those rules and regulations unless it's inconsistent with the Constitution or the state statutes. So we would have potentially more say in how we structure ourselves. We could have more than 5 Board of County Commissioner seats. State law has it that we can have 5. If we move to a charter, we could have more. We could have at-large seats. We could have district-only voting if we moved to a charter county. We cannot do that in a non-charter. However, the concerns that I have about charter county is that a charter must choose between municipal or county ordinances and which one rules. And it's not something that you decide once and that's set in stone. So we could proceed, let's say, for example, they say, oh, municipalities can decide. So Claremont's Code of Ordinances rules for Claremont. But let's say 3 years from now, a ballot referendum comes forward to say, no, we actually want the county level ordinances to dictate what can happen in Claremont. And that can get put on the ballot. And if the majority of voters institute that, then Claremont loses its ability to govern itself. And that's a real concern for me. This has gone on the ballot twice, I think, in the past and been voted down by the voters of Lake County. There's no such thing as a partial charter county. It's either all or nothing. If you become a charter county, then you can have charter review processes, and the people that are a part of those get to put ballot initiatives forward. And we've seen that here in Claremont. We did that where we required people running for city council to have lived here for 18 months. We did that with term limits. We tried to do that with extending terms to 4 years instead of 2-year terms, and the citizens voted that down. Those were charter amendments that we did here at the local level, at the city level. The county could do the same thing. And so, but you cannot divide that up by municipalities. So the voters in Sorrento get to decide, does that apply to Claremont? And I don't know that that's something that we ought to be doing, and vice versa. I don't think we should have a say in what their community does at that level. So I think some people say this is a potential power grab by the county to overrule home rule and to decide what happens at a county level instead of allowing each municipality to decide and then the county to decide what happens in those unincorporated areas. So while there are some, I think, opportunities that could be potentially beneficial for the county, district-only voting, perhaps, I think that that's something that we should have. We can't do that without being a charter, and I don't think that that in and of itself is reason enough to move to a charter county. I'd rather petition our state legislators to say, amend the state constitution and change our state statutes to allow for that without having to go through the charter review process. It could also give county the authority to say to municipalities, hey, we know, like for example in Claremont, so many of our roads are county roads, and they're responsible to pay for those. And a study was done back in 2018 that showed that the county is at that point in time $710 million behind. They had a funding gap of $710 million, and that was in 2018. I would suspect that in 2025, that number is probably over $1 billion shortfall at the county level to properly fund our roads. And so many of our roads in Claremont are county roads. If we would go forward with a county charter and the county board wanted to, or a charter referendum ballot measure wanted to allow for the county to transfer ownership of those roads to the cities, they could do that. And they could wash their hands of that and no longer have that deficit because they push it off to Claremont and Mineola and Leesburg and Lady Lake and Eustis and Tavares and say, hey, cities, you now have to deal with this. Even though we created the roads, we funded them up to this point, we've left you in a hole, we're just going to wash our hands of these roads. And again, I'm not sure that that benefits the citizens of Claremont in any way, shape, or form, financially or through decision making. So the county did have a workshop back on June 2nd. And on their website, if you go to lakecountyfl.gov/growth, there is there are the 4 workshops that they held and videos of those workshops. I'll put a link to the county's YouTube page where the Florida Association of Counties did a presentation on Charter County, and they put a lot of graphs and information up where you can get this specific information. But hopefully this at least gives you some additional information. There are some potential benefits that could come from being a charter county, but the biggest issue and the reason why I am against it at this point in time is because I think it takes power away from the citizens of Claremont to decide at their city council level who is making these ordinances and decisions about roads, about developments, about community engagement, arts, parks, recs, all of those things that affect our quality of life that we would like our city council to determine for our community of 50,000 plus people and growing. Should not be done at the county level when 3 out of those 3 out of the 5 county board commissioners are not representing Claremont, they're representing other districts. And so I think that just sets us up for potential issues with our representation. and our taxation without that representation at a local level, and is the frustration that we've had with Tallahassee making decisions and pushing those down to counties and cities. Some of those same county board commissioners that are championing this are frustrated with that, but yet they want to do that now at the county level to the cities. And I just don't think that's okay. And until we address some other avenues to deal with some of the issues at the county board level, then we should potentially just not move forward with this process and say no to the Charter County. All right, Claremont, again, Brian Bain running for seat 2 for Claremont City Council. And hopefully this gives you some additional information. And as always, feel free to reach out. I'm happy to talk to you more about this issue or any issue that affects our citizens, because really together we can work to create a shared vision for Claremont. Thank you and have a good night.